Oh no, but can. I didn't just put that up. It's doing its own thing. Welcome to our Tuesday afternoon live. I'm Nina Hart. I am the president of the National Nurses in Business Association, and this is Casey Goff, our member engagement coordinator. And we are super excited to be going live today to talk about market research. And we've kind of actually been following like an organized progression. If you haven't noticed, we've been talking about kind of topics like how to find your ideal audience, how to refine and pivot when something's not working. And so today we just wanted to give like 3 really critical, crucial market research tips for nurse entrepreneurs. So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yes, I am too. I think it's super important that people just understand like why market research is so essential just to build a sustainable business, and then kind of give them like a personal anecdote to see what happens if you skip it or if you think it's not as important. So I think it's good if we just set some expectations for everybody and let them know what we're going to be covering and how we're going to cover it, while my dog chews the loudest possible toy every time.
I can't hear it, but I really considered eating some chips, and then I thought, maybe I just better wait till the live is over. But I could blame it on Millie, right?
You can, because she's like eating something that sounds like a bag of chips right now. So
I can't hear it. So I wanted just to say, to your point, I am surprised at how much I am finding that market research really trips up nurses. And by that, I mean just not doing it at all, just
Right.
conducting no market research whatsoever, just kind of deciding like, oh, I'm interested in coaching. I'm interested in coaching on lifestyle or functional medicine or weight loss or whatever. And so they just start, right? Which part of that is great. Okay. Part of that I just want to say is just start, right? Like that is great. But the part that's not so great is like then, like these nurses that I'm talking to pretty regularly now, they're stuck. They're super stuck. They're like, I have no clients. I can't move out of this phase of my business. It's super frustrating. Why is this happening? What do I do? And that's where some of these really critical topics that we've been talking about, like identifying your target ideal client and, knowing when to pivot or when it's your messaging. And then today talking about how to conduct market research and why you should be conducting market research. These are huge components, whether you're just starting and you are trying to figure out what you should be doing, or if you're already in business and you're adding new service lines and you're looking to expand products and offerings. This is huge for that as well. It's never going to not be, market research is never going to be something that, as a business owner, you can get away from. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do it yourself, but somebody should be doing it.
Yeah. And I think people think that it's just like kind of studying the competition or like, what are they charging? Is this what I should charge? But I think it's so much more about like just knowing who you're going to be charging, knowing your audience, knowing your ideal client, and then kind of like validating it with real conversations from people. Just because someone is charging one thing in your area does not mean that that's what you have to charge.
Well, it's like overcomplicating it to the max. And I don't know why nurses, and I can speak to this myself, this is my fatal flaw. I don't know why we have to overcomplicate everything. This is not like doing a cross-sectional national demographic data, which if you want to do that because you're Casey and you're in school for that, then do it, right? Or pay Casey to do it. She'd be phenomenal. I'm not doing services she's not offering, but pay someone else to do it, right? If you feel like that is the research you need to do, then by all means do that. But I'm just saying, for the purposes of today, we are talking about very simple concepts. So don't be scared away by intimidating words like research, right? Because although I love using data and seeing what data means, I actually don't love research at all. It is super draining for me. And if you say like, do you want to research this? My immediate answer is absolutely not. I don't want to research.
Time consuming,
waste time,
monotonous. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
revenue generating activity. So if I had one thing to say, just as a caveat before we really start digging into this, I would say, please be aware and keep top of mind that market research, while super valuable, is not a revenue generating activity. And one of the things I say to nurses when they are telling me that they're stuck is, are you focused on revenue generating activities? Because if you are not making money and your business is not profitable, it is most likely because you are tab surfing, you have 1,000 tabs open, and you are not doing, you are not 100% focused on revenue generating activities. Because when you are, you see the revenue coming in from those activities. And market research, by all, I can't even think of the word, by all fronts, is not revenue generating. It may be later, right? If you do the market research up front for your client, for your product, for your service, before you launch it, you will see the return on investment for that later. But it's not going to be something where I'm doing market research and it's not making me any money, right? It's
And
not
it can be exhausting too. So
for
it's
sure,
not going to motivate you,
right? So
probably,
I would do
unless
it
you like to research.
in some steps that we'll define here today, and we'll talk a little more about, just to be careful, like you said, to conserve your energy and focus on making money and bringing on clients.
Yeah, and I think that's all really good. And I think there's a lot of methods that you can use to research your audience or find your ideal customer. And you can do social media engagement, you can do direct face-to-face conversations, surveys. That's stuff like the conference is really good for that kind of stuff. You get to meet so many different people and you can kind of pick their brains. What do you think has been the most beneficial for you in your business?
You know what? It's crazy. I will say, just conversations, listening. And, like you said, that could be for me, that could be at the conference, or it could even be social media, which I do find social media very draining in a lot of capacities. But in the market research capacity, it's super valuable to tap your network, and even people who maybe aren't your ideal client necessarily might also have some really valuable feedback on, what would appeal to them if they were your ideal client, or what they've heard from people who are in this space. I think there's a lot of value in conversation. And that's kind of what I meant when I said, like, let's keep this super simple. Let's not overcomplicate this. This isn't a huge undertaking. This is conversations. This is listening to what people are asking for. This is, doing some surveys, asking a couple really targeted questions on your LinkedIn or Facebook, sending out an email and 7-word email, 9-word email asking for a reply. Hey, I'm thinking of doing this. Is that something you would buy? Or what are your thoughts on that? Or do you see that as a need? Simple tactics are really, really effective.
Right.
So much more than, like, analyzing a spreadsheet to see how many licensed or registered, because you can really get in the weeds with market research. And I've been there, done that. I paid thousands of dollars in 2020, 2021, when I first got started with the consulting business, to do all this market research. And I didn't need any of that. And it never made me a dime, never made a dime off of that. And so I think just making true connections and listening is, like, by far the most effective thing I've done.
I would always say that too. I would always say that people will tell you what they need and what they think and what they want, and you really don't even have to say anything. If you just let someone talk, they'll tell you everything you need to know. And I think always, personal relationships are going to get you a lot further than crunching numbers or looking at trends. As much as I like that stuff, I do see that, people answer surveys a certain way, it's much
Or not
different
at
than what
all.
they tell you in person, or not at all. Yeah. Um, so I think there are some things, like, speaking of analyzing, like, there are some things that should be analyzed, though, obviously, like pricing strategies. How do you decide, or like service gaps in the market? when you were getting started, or even just when you're year over year, like going through your business, what are some things that you really focus on to analyze?
Well, I think you're going to kind of structure this out based on the return on your services too. So I think pricing strategies are hard when it comes to a few different areas. So pricing strategies are a lot easier when you're looking at something a little more concrete, like maybe retail or even like a clinic or private practice walk-in situation where you can pretty easily do the market research to find out what the clinic in the next town over is charging and adjust your pricing strategy based on your demographic, your geographic location, your clientele, who you're marketing to. Are you marketing to luxury? Or do you have a luxury pricing model? Or are you trying to get volume and say we are the most cost-effective private provider and we're cash pay, right? So you're gonna position some of this market research around your services. But for consulting, it is really challenging to find um, pricing strategies because consultants don't post their prices online, right?
No,
They're
yeah.
not there. So you kind of have to look at your pricing strategies based on a lot of factors like your ideal client, based on, you know, your services, how specialized is what you're providing. The more specialized, the more niche. We talked I think last week or the week before about going down 3 times,
Yeah,
niching down at least 3 times. The more specialized you get, the higher the price point because there's less people doing it, there's less people with your skills. So
right.
that's going to have, a pretty big impact on who you're marketing to and how you market to them because not everybody's going to be in your price point for that specialized service.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Do you feel like you use a lot of like industry trends? Because it seems like things are changing a lot just in healthcare, and there's a lot more coaches or consultants than there used to be. How do you manage the industry trends?
I think you brought up a really good point there because I have noticed there is a lot of saturation in certain areas. And I think, again, not to be repetitive, but it goes back to specialization or niching down, whatever you want to call it, because you really have to know who you're marketing to. The more clear, and we talked about the dreaded avatar exercise last week, but the more clear you can get on who you're marketing to, the better market research you can do and at what the trends are, right? And you could throw a rock right now and hit a coach of some kind, right? So and that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing. It actually means that people are making money doing this and seeing that
Right?
it's super lucrative and doable, right? That's a
Yeah,
great thing. That's not a negative that somebody else is doing what you're doing and doing it well. You
yeah,
just need to put your own spin on it. And you need to get to know your audience and how they're different. How are you going to get your market share? How are you going to segment the market to specifically message what you offer? And I think that's where nurses can really struggle because that messaging isn't super clear, and so they kind of fall in this red ocean of coaches or consultants or course creators or influencers or whatever bucket they're trying to stand out in. And then we think in our mind like, I need to do something super controversial or I need to go viral in order to stand out and get my message out. And that's really not mostly realistic most of the time. Like that may happen to you probably on a fluke, right? But it's really not super realistic way to like do market research or to like segment your audience or anything like that. So it's more about having real conversations, validating your offer, listening to, if you're looking at industry trends, you can see, okay, there's a huge influx right now of functional medicine and holistic nurse coaching. I personally think that's phenomenal. I'm super interested in that. I've been trained in that as well. So I think when you start to see those trends, you really have to say like, where do I fit in
hmm,
this business model? And where does my services fall? Because I can't just be a coach anymore, right? Like just being a coach is not gonna work because, or I will say this last piece. I think I talked about James Cooper. He talks about like video stories, and I took a course of his a couple years ago, and he talks about either having a really big message and a really small audience, or a really big audience with a really small message. So when you're talking about market research, you want to either be talking to and be researching a really big audience, like all of healthcare. That's a huge audience. Women, huge audience, right? Moms, huge audience, with a really, really small message. Like we talked about niching down. So moms who work full time, work third shift, have a dog, whatever the message is, has to be super tiny, right? It has to take that huge audience and like narrow it down quite a bit. Or it could be a really big message like lose weight, and then a really small audience like for nurses that work third shift, right? So
that is huge right now too. Several of my friends here in Austin, I probably know 5 or 6 separate people who do this as their full-time job. And it's like for corporate girls between the ages of 30 and 35, or for ex-college athletes who gain 15 pounds after college, or, you know, Christian men that this, you know, like, so I know several people. So that is definitely across all different coaches and all different, you know, consulting and coaching industries, not just healthcare. So obviously it's working for lots of people.
Then you have to take that a step further and say, what do those people want? What is the outcome they want? Because that's your service. And I find that specifically with nurses, we talk more about what we do than what they get. I just want to say that one more time, because that's the only takeaway I've got, my nugget of wisdom for today. Don't talk about what you do. Don't share what you do. No one cares. You talk about what they get out of it. What is the outcome they want? And when you start validating that conversation with your audience, you're going to be listening to what they want. It doesn't matter how you help them get it. And usually you're helping them get it because you've done it yourself. You're a weight loss coach because you've lost weight, or you're a health coach because you're passionate about health and you've really changed your life, or you're a hospice compliance consultant because you've been through a ton of surveys and you love helping hospices turn it around, right? So when you're talking to that ideal client, you should focus almost 100% either on the problems that they're having or the outcome that you can get them because of your experience, instead of saying, my name's Nina Hart. I'm a hospice consultant and I do a bunch of audits. I do hundreds of chart audits. I comb through every single page of your charts. I'll spend hours just combing through your charts and sending you emails with corrections. Not super appealing, right?
Yeah. like that to me sounds like great. I'm gonna have to.
Great. That's super stressful. More work for me, right? And that might be part of what I physically do, but the outcome they get is, I'm going to make your team feel like they don't have to carry survey alone. I'm going to make your team feel like they don't have to dig through their charts for hours. I'm going to give your team the education they need to have a great survey. I'm going to save your hospice a ton of money from fines, from survey deficiencies, from turnover because your staff are frustrated with double documentation. I'm going to make surveys so easy for you that when the surveyors walk in, you're completely ready, right? You won't even have to worry that you have to scramble and get everything together because I'm going to have it in a little file for you, right? You don't have to try and spend 3 hours looking up a regulation, because you can just shoot me a text or shoot me an email and ask me what it is, and I'll look it up for you, or someone on my team will, and I'll give you a response the same day. So these are the things, like, what is the outcome they get? They get less stress. They get less fines and deficiencies. They get less, oversight from Medicare, and less turnover from management on their team that's stressed out. So they get all these things from working with you. So when you're having these conversations and you're listening to what they want, I highly doubt they're telling you what it is that you do. I want to spend 1 hour a week with a nurse on Zoom. Nobody's going to say that. No one that's not what, you don't lay in bed at night thinking, I really want to spend an hour on Zoom every week with a nurse and just talk about the same problem over and over again, right? Like that's not what our ideal clients are really hoping for.
Right.
So, I think that kind of goes almost right back to the beginning of like knowing your audience, like who are you actually talking to? And so you mentioned doing surveys, social, I talked about posting on social media, but also just having direct conversations. And this is where your network comes in. This is why NNBA is great, because we have members who are your ideal audience, right? And we're each other's ideal audience a lot of the time, and we're asking each other for those that feedback. And I've got this core group of NNBA members that I've been friends with for years now, who we bounce each ideas off of each other. And how would you structure this? What would you charge for this? What would you, if you were looking for this, what would you be looking for? Does this make
Right.
sense to you? Does
Yeah.
this, when you
Is
read
this
this,
a
can you
need? Yeah.
tell? Yeah. And that value, that has been so much value to me, just literally priceless. But yeah, so knowing your audience before you are putting all the work into it, I think that's one mistake that I just want to point out that's very important. Is I find that nurses are building huge content, huge platforms, huge programs, having not done any market research at all. And I would encourage you to do the opposite and not build anything until you have somebody ready to pay you for it.
Right.
Create it as you go. You do not have to have it ready. That is like my mic drop of the day, number 2, because if you're spending all this time creating something you don't even know if anyone wants, you have wasted so much time. You're not getting paid for it. It's so discouraging and frustrating when no one buys it. And I know so many nurses in this situation right now.
Yeah.
So,
And it gives you a chance to kind of personalize it for your specific, customer.
yeah.
So if you're like, I know that I can offer this, and then you're making it kind of as you go, or once they're paying for it, you can top of mind is what they need because you're working for them or with them. So it is helpful, and it would be, more valuable for the client as well. So yeah, I think that validating with real conversations is super important. And that can be, like I said, through like discovery calls or networking events, conferences, just any kind of like interactive workshop. I did just, I do want to plug this really quick. I just put on February 25th a virtual coffee hour. So that's going to be like a little bit of an option to kind of, you can talk with other people, you can talk it through with me, you can talk it through just to kind of see if that is something that you're looking for or the other people are looking for, kind of like what Nina was saying. It gives you a chance to kind of talk with an audience of, like Nina said, people that have been through what you're going through. So I think joining in on any kind of interactive opportunity like that is super beneficial.
Do you have that link? Can you put that link in the chat? Do you have it?
I put it in the newsletter, so I'm sure I've got it. I can try to find it while you talk for a few.
I will. I should have had that ready to go. That would have been good. But yeah, we'd love to see you on that virtual coffee hour. And we're going to try and create some more opportunities for you to network. We know that's one of the biggest benefits of the NNBA is just having those relationships. I know for sure that has been for me. So, and I've had many other members tell me that. But yeah, run your offers by us, run your launches by us. Share those things, and we'll support you and do anything we can to help you validate that offer and provide feedback. I think that's really important to be open to feedback and to ask for feedback. I think we get so excited with what we've created and how hard we've worked and that we love the idea of it that we just like roll right into launching it. And it's like that is dangerous because no one else has looked at it or given feedback. And although I'm sure that your mom or your best friend will, give you a lot of positive feedback, you really need to talk to someone who's not afraid to tell you the truth, because if they don't understand what you're selling, you want them to be able to tell you that. Like you want them to look at it and say, I don't really understand what this is or what I get from this, or, things like that. And so I think that that's important to have kind of more of a non-biased review. If you have a peer who will tell you the truth, I think that's the best option. Somebody who will point out, like, there's so much text here on this page, I can't even tell what the offer is. Like,
Right.
and I know that's hard to take, but I can tell you it is so much better to hear it from a friend than to not have anyone buy your offer and not know why.
Yeah. Yeah, that does suck. That is very defeating. So I always try to encourage everyone to take action some way or another, because I am huge on like having accountability partners. So if there is something that you really want to implement this week and you want to have an accountability partner, you can send me an email at casey@nursesbusiness.com, and I can kind of check in with you to see if that's something that you got, taken care of. I would love to hear what you all are working on. I definitely recommend joining the calls and being a part of these things. I've gotten a lot of messages that they've been super helpful for people. I know they've been super helpful for me because I'm a newbie. So it's been really helpful having Nina to help everybody work through these difficult things of being a nurse entrepreneur or running a side hustle or working through ideas. Nina, do you have any kind of wrap up or closing?
Just that we have so many good topics at the conference that are completely married and tied in to what we're talking about. So if, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but the conference, when you're in that setting and you're in that live networking, like just the energy and the topics that we're going to be hearing from, literally layer upon layer of covering every possible aspect of these topics. If this is something you struggle with and you don't know how to do this, or if you have imposter syndrome, or if you can't figure out how what to do about a lead magnet, or there's just you don't feel comfortable networking and you don't really know how to network. Donna Cardillo is even going to talk about how to network, how to power network, right? So we're throwing around all these terms, we're talking about all these business concepts, and some people are out there saying, like, I don't even know what I could do for my business. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be looking at, right? So I would say for you, look at the conference, because the topics that we have, they're gonna give you so many ideas from so many experienced nurse business owners, and they're also gonna challenge head on some of these concepts that we're talking about every week. And I think that that is super helpful if you just don't know what to do. I would say don't stress, don't worry about it. Come to the conference, network, meet some people, and you will get some great ideas. Truly, truly the ideas and the energy just flowing, right? So I would recommend that if you're listening to this and you're feeling like, I don't have an idea to market research, or I have too many ideas to market research, or I just don't know what to do, I don't even know what I could do, I have imposter syndrome, whatever it is, I would say to you that you should come to the conference, consider coming to the conference and doing some in-person networking, learning, these things that are going to be live there. And so it's a totally different experience when you're live. So
Yeah. I was also going to mention the conference and just say that everything that we have heard from people on these lives or outside of the lives, and just kind of like getting to know everyone since, starting us with the NMBA, every single thing that people have brought up to us is something that we're going over at the conference. Like a huge one is like, I don't know, like the legal aspects of starting a nurse business. Well, I know Nick Webb is going to go over that. There's so much stuff about like the overwhelm of social media that I've heard about, and Bridget's going over some of that. I personally cannot wait to hear Damien's, one, because I love Damien, and two, because I totally understand working full-time and growing your business. There's so much valuable information, and it really is so important to hear it from people that have done it. And to be a part of it, it really does change it changes the game to actually be a part of it and be there and meet the people that are going through this. And it is very encouraging and inspiring. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. If this was helpful, drop a comment. Let us know if you were like, wait a second, I'm, I need more help with this area. Ask your questions. We'll keep an eye out and try and respond and be helpful, or send us a message and let us know how we could support you in this area or what you're market researching. I actually really, really love hearing the ideas of what you're doing. So I have found even just sharing that, even if you feel kind of stuck or frustrated, sometimes even just sharing what you're doing can be uplifting and encouraging and get you through a mental block. So, share with us what you're working on, comment and share your business, share what you're doing. The conference is in person, Audrey. Yep. It's an in-person conference, July 17th through 19th in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we could not be more excited. It's at my favorite hotel in the world, the South Point, with a 24-hour Starbucks and plenty of roulette tables and free drinks.
Yeah. And there's like an ice cream place and all these delicious
11 restaurants inside.
Okay. If
my kind of place.
Come for all that and then just, stop by the conference.
Yeah, it's in person, and it's really, this will be my 5th year, and just really every time I take something really meaningful away, new relationships, new connections, new ideas, new strategies, new perspectives. You can feel like you're in a groove and doing great, and then somebody shares something that just completely opens up a whole new possibility, and you can go start doing something that you've always wanted to do and didn't even know it. So it's just
very inspiring,
very motivating setting to be in person with all those nurse entrepreneurs. Well, we hope to see you there. Again, we love to hear from you. We love to hear your feedback on these lives, topics you want to do. We're super open to that. And then also, what you're implementing to commit to this week. If you're doing market research on a product or a business or a service line, share that with us. Shoot us questions. We're here for you, and that's why we're doing this. We want to support you and connect with you and help you in your business to experience success and freedom as a nurse entrepreneur. So have a great week.
Bye.